Perfect. That's good to know. And yeah, we can get started. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us tonight. And my name is Sukrit Mishra. I'm the DC Program and Solar Switch Program Director at Solar United Neighbors. Yeah, welcome to this Solar 101. And we are also presenting this alongside our partners from Howard County. And yeah, glad to have you here and welcome aboard. With that, I'll get started on the presentation. And in terms of um, what we'll be covering tonight, it will be a general overview on the Solar Switch program we're running in the county along other regions. And then I will, give the floor to our partners. And then after that, we'll go into the basics of solar technology, just a basic Solar 101. We will also give you a rundown of solar financing, some of the incentives in the region, and then we're going to share some links in the chat, which will help you sign up for our program among some of the other educational content we have on our website. And with that, I'll get started. And once again, like I said, I mean, we could not have done this work and all the stuff around Solar Switch without the support of our partners. We are running the Capital Region project across the DMV. That's basically DC, Montgomery, Frederick, Prince George's, and Howard counties up in Maryland. And we are also running this down in Arlington and Fairfax counties in Virginia. And yeah, this is the second campaign we're doing this year. And yeah, we could not have done this without the partners. And speaking of our partners, I'll give the floor to Leah and the team to provide more insight on their team, the work they do, and any of the initiatives you should be aware of. And with that, Leah, you have the floor.
Great, thank you so much. Hello, everyone. I'm Leah Miller. I'm the energy manager with Howard County, and I work in the Office of Community Sustainability. We work on policy, project management, and outreach related to climate action and just about every aspect of sustainability in the environment. We work closely with all county departments on these issues through a climate sub-cabinet that County Executive Calvin Ball established in 2022. And am I in charge of the slides or is someone else moving those? Sorry. Okay, thanks. Yeah, so we published Howard County Climate Forward, our climate action and resiliency plan in 2023. The plan outlines ambitious greenhouse gas emission reduction targets, 60% by 2030 and net zero by 2045. This aligns with state goals and also what science tells us is needed to help preserve a livable planet. The plan includes very specific strategies, actions, and timelines to meet the goals. And we're really happy to see you here tonight because solar plays such an important role in all of this. We also just published an annual report showing progress on our goals. It's very short and sweet. It's a lot of photos and a lot of nice graphics. So I encourage you to check it out on our website, which is shown on the next slide. That's climateforward.howardcountymd.gov. And it may end up getting dropped in the chat, or I could drop it in the chat later. There's also another slide later in this deck that has a QR code. So if that's easier for you, you can use that as well. So we have made really good progress already on reducing greenhouse gas emissions. Since 2005, emissions from all sources across Howard County have gone down 23%, which is good, but our challenge moving forward is that we need to actually double that rate of reductions to meet the targets. Yeah, and then the next slide, we have a pie chart that shows our sources of emissions. And you'll see that our most significant sources of greenhouse gas emissions in Howard County are transportation and energy use in buildings. So many of our climate action strategies focus on these two sectors. So on the next slide, we show some of the solar work that Howard County government is doing. Um, we we realized that converting to solar, again, plays such an important role in emissions reductions. So the county is leading by example. We have the largest solar power purchase agreement in the state. And what that means, a power purchase agreement is when a private company builds, owns, and maintains the solar arrays and covers all the upfront costs. The county doesn't have any upfront costs, but then the county buys the electricity produced by those arrays and agrees to buy it for the whole life of the arrays, so about 25 years. The electricity rate, when we started all this a couple of years ago, was already lower than what we were paying then, and the rates have only gone up and probably will continue to. So we're saving a significant amount of taxpayer dollars through this power purchase agreement. And we hope, just like what you can expect to save in your electricity bills if you choose to go solar. So you can see from the pictures that we have a combination of different types of solar projects. We have rooftop projects, canopies over parking, and ground mounts, and that we're even grazing sheep in under some of our ground mount solar arrays. So on the next slide, we're talking here about high impact actions that will help us to get toward net zero. And again, one of the highest impact actions to get us there is using renewable energy. And that's that first one there, transition to clean energy. Increasing solar will actually provide 24% of our needed reductions in greenhouse gas emissions. And yes, but we need to increase solar much more. So we actually have some goals that are stated in the climate action plan specifically about how much solar needs to be installed in the county. So back in 2022, when we did our baseline, we found there are about 108 megawatts of solar installed in the county. And that's not just on county property, I mean, on people's rooftops, on farmland, like on commercial spaces all across the county. So that's what we had. Our goal for 2030 is to reach 437 megawatts. That would be enough to power 50,700 homes. And then our goal for 2045 almost triples that. So then we're looking at 1,133 megawatts. That's enough to power 131,500 homes. So as I mentioned, we were able to increase a bit over the last 2 years. We saw an increase of 24 megawatts of solar, but as you can tell, we need to increase this a lot more, and we need your help with that. And realizing that, we wanted to make it as easy as possible for people to go solar. And that's one of the reasons why we're partnering with Solar Switch, and we're really excited about that. Yeah, so the next slide, we are welcoming you to join us to move Howard County forward on climate. And this is a fantastic way to do it. Just being here tonight and learning about this. Solar Switch, as Sucrit mentioned, is managed by Solar United Neighbors. And Howard County has long known Solar United Neighbors as a nonprofit that knows solar forwards and backwards, and that has been helping people navigate all their different options to be able to go solar and helping people choose what works best for them for many years. So we are thrilled to be part of the Solar Switch campaign. It's going to be able to help you to save money on your solar installation. And you can be assured to know that you are working with a contractor that's been vetted by Solar United Neighbors, that knows what they're doing, and you're going to have support all along the way from the Solar Switch help desk. So with that, I will turn it back over to Sucrit to continue the presentation. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you for that, Leah. And yeah, thank you for providing some more backdrop on the mission. And I know you had a QR code earlier, so if folks want to scan it or, get over there, they're welcome to. Naomi, I'm not sure if we have this link, but Leah, you're also welcome to drop this in the chat and any other resources that would be of relevance to folks who are on this presentation. And with that, I'm going to get on with the next few slides and yeah, get on with the presentation. And before I get into solar technology, like Leah mentioned, we have known Howard County among some other partners for a long time. And in a nutshell, we at Solar United Neighbors, also known as SUN, we are a vendor neutral national 501(c)(3) nonprofit. And we work in 12 states along with DC and Puerto Rico. And our mission is triple faceted. Number one is helping people go solar at a competitive rate inside our co-ops or solar switch programs. We also assist folks in going solar outside of the programs by educating them. Now, that education also includes webinars and in-person events like this one. And we also do pro bono consultations or proposal reviews from installers. Besides that, we also do a lot of advocacy work. Progress is not a straight line. So once in a while, when we do get pushback from local utilities, when we do have folks who are struggling to go solar due to local HOAs or other limitations, we try to mediate those discussions or assist them by guiding them in the right direction. And the third part is just expanding our network. As we grow this project, we are sometimes at capacity and we're always looking for new volunteers. We're looking for new folks to join our education platform, and that's where you can help. So whether you're looking to go solar, whether you just need our guidance on anything related to clean energy, or if you want to join our network, you're welcome to join us. And in terms of SUN's funding, we just want to be transparent in terms of how we run these programs and where we make the money. And this is something I took from the annual report. This is from last year. So as you can see, our total revenue was just north of $10 million last year across the whole country. And in terms of the co-ops and solar switch programs we run, for complete transparency, for everyone that goes solar in this program with the installer, we get a cut or a commission of $250. And that's what you see noted over here in the fee for service. These are the services we are providing. And as you can see, it's a very small chunk of the overall budget. That's not our motivation. Our motivation as a national nonprofit is to first educate folks, but also incentivize consumer protection. If you go solar in my program, great. If you don't and you walk away wiser and you know more about solar, great. I've done my job. So this is my way of saying, we have bigger priorities than just incentivizing people to go solar in this program. We have a bigger mission overall. In terms of the national impact, we have been around for more than a decade. And during that time, we have helped more than 9,500 families go solar. Maryland was a second state where we expanded this program. I think this was back in 2011. And in Maryland, we have helped more than 1,200 families go solar. That translates to around 80 megawatts, and around 10% of that is in Maryland. So pretty big or sizable footprint here on the East Coast. And in terms of the origin story, let me just minimize this so that I'm assuming you can still see my face, but just focusing on the presentation. In terms of how Sun got started, this was back in 2007. The person you see here is Anya. That's her founder and executive director. And that's her son, Walter, and his friend Diego, here on the left and right. They watched this documentary back then. It was called The Inconvenient Truth. They got motivated, inspired. They wanted to make a difference. And that's when Anya got the idea of, starting our very first co-op here in DC in the Mount Pleasant neighborhood. And back then we had more modest goals. And in that very first co-op or a bulk purchase campaign, we helped 50 homes go solar. Gradually, we expanded to Maryland, then Virginia, then Florida, and now we are a national nonprofit. And in terms of the present day, I updated these numbers, I think earlier this week. We have run more than 400 co-ops, and that's more than 9,500 people who have gone solar with us. This does not include folks we have consulted or assisted in going solar outside the co-ops. So it's not quite the overall footprint, but it is more than this. And moving on, like I said, our theory of change is triple faceted. The first part is going solar, helping people go solar, whether it's new members or existing people with systems. If they have any technical challenges, if they need us to assist, we try to assist wherever possible. Second part is we help people join together. That means sharing resources on our website, doing solar tours across the country, and happy hours. And the last part is fighting for energy rights. Um, in some states like Maryland, or say, I would even say, even in the district, the progress is a tad bit easier. We do have challenges with utilities, but it's not quite as severe as the challenges some of my colleagues face in, say, Arizona or Texas, where there's more pushback from local utilities. And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to preserve the rights around net metering, um, fight back against HOAs, and we try to represent solar owners wherever possible. In terms of what we will cover today, three parts. The first part is Solar Switch, the program we are running right now. The second part is solar tech. I will give you a basic, I'll try to keep it basic, but a bit, some background on solar technology and what it looks like on your roof. And the third part is solar financing, incentives in Maryland, and how you can benefit from them. Sorry about that. And moving on, that's first part is Solar Switch. So in a nutshell, this is a group buying program for solar PV modules or solar panels and battery backup systems. Both homeowners and small businesses qualify for this. So whether you're in Howard County or any of the adjacent regions, you're welcome to apply to this. And my colleague Naomi will be sharing this resource in the chat section. And one of the big, perks or the benefits of Solar Switch is by running a campaign or bulking people up in groups, we are able to save them time and money. We help them go solar at a discounted rate. And like Leah mentioned earlier, we do extensive background checks and rigorous vetting on any of the installers that are bidding on these programs. In the campaign we are running right now, we selected Solar Energy World or SEW, as well as Lumina Solar. We have been working with them for more than a decade, and both are renowned and certified. And our members have relayed really positive experiences with both. And they're both renowned for delivering a high quality product at a very competitive rate. And we are only able to do that because we eliminate a lot of the soft costs around marketing for the installers. But more on that later. And this partnership is between us at Solar United Neighbors, also known as Sun, and another company called iChooser. We are in charge of the installer vetting and any of the background checks, as well as the education and consultation component. So we have a help desk, a dedicated help desk that answers any questions free of charge. iChooser is focused more on the marketing front. So some of you folks may have received a flyer or a direct mailer. That's what our partners at iChooser do. And they were promoting, or they continue to promote this campaign on various social media forums. And of course, we could not have done this program without the support of local governments, agencies, and partners. And yeah, moving on. Like I said, why Solar Switch? Folks are welcome to go solar on their own as well. That's totally understandable. But with Solar Switch, one of the big benefits is even after signing up for this campaign, there's no obligation to go solar. Some folks join it just to do some research. They just want to understand how solar works, and then they opt out of the campaign. That is fine. But there is no pressure to go solar with us. You can join, get your facts, and then you can decide if you want to stay or you can leave. Second part, there's a good value on your installation. Because we do this in groups, the bigger the group, the more discounted the rate. And on average, in these campaigns, we save folks anywhere from 15 to 20%, up to 25% on going solar as compared to going solar on your own. The last thing I would say is we also focus a lot on advocacy and do a lot of one-on-one support with folks in these groups. So if you have any questions along the way, you can reach out to our help desk and we answer any questions and we mediate any discussions between you and the installer free of charge. And well, yeah, like I said in the previous slide, one of the big benefits is extensive cost savings, reliable vendors and installers. We are working with four installers in this program. SEW and Lumina are covering Maryland and Virginia. Here in DC, Solar Solution and Uprise Solar are covering the district. So we're always looking for new vendors. So, as we continue to grow these campaigns, to keep their installation volumes manageable and to ensure that they stick to the installation deadlines, we're always looking to, collaborate or work with new vendors. And like I said, finally, customer service for support across all stages. We have a dedicated help desk. You can reach out at your convenience. And my colleague Naomi will be dropping some of these resources in the chat. The last thing I'll add is if you're late to the presentation, you're not missing anything. We are recording this. This will be sent out to all the attendees and absentees tomorrow. This will also go live on our YouTube sometime in the morning tomorrow. In terms of the process for SolarSwitch, it's broken down into four segments. The first part is the registration, and you should be able to find that in the chat, the registration link. Once you register, you will receive an automated personal recommendation. That recommendation is customized based on the answers you submit, and you will be asked questions around the age of your house, the height, what your utility bills are on average every month, do you have any tree shading, the slope on your roof, and many other questions. Now, you don't have to be an expert on everything. If you do not know the answer, that's totally fine. That's something you can also figure out later on when you do a one-on-one consultation with the installer rep. Once you receive the personal recommendation, you will have to decide if you want to proceed forward with a personalized consultation with the installer, and you'll be prompted to pay a 100% refundable deposit. We charge this deposit because we have around, on average, we get 2,000 to 2,500 folks in these campaigns. The one we ran in spring had almost 4,500 folks. So we are trying to separate folks who are serious about going solar versus folks who are, not quite as committed or dedicated. And that also ensures that people who are coming to the installer or any of the leads they're receiving and the folks who are coming to us are actually dedicated and serious about doing the research or going solar. And like I said, once you pay that deposit, you will be assigned an installer rep depending on your zip code or wherever you live. Once you receive that official proposal from the installer, you will have 30 days to review and decide if you want to sign the contract. If you do not want to sign the contract, you can just drop us an email. We will remove you from the program, no questions asked, and issue a 100% refund. If you decide to go forward with the personal offer, then the installer applies for a permit. They do all the work for you. It's a turnkey system, and the installation typically takes anywhere from 1 to 2 days. And yeah, we are trying to cover all the installations for the current program. I think the deadline is the third week of July. But again, this is the first come first serve program. So if folks join this program back in August or September, they can expect their systems to be installed by January, February next year. The closer people get to the deadline, which is, I think, let me just look, it should be November the 22nd, next month, the more the installation is pushed later into the summer. And these are just some snapshots of what you can see on the registration page. So once you go on this link over here, this is the sign up page. When you click on this blue button here where you register, it's going to ask for your zip code. And then based on that, it's going to customize your proposal and ask you all the questions. And like I said, these are some of the questions they ask, like, what's the pitch of your roof? And this matters because if it's a flat roof, that's where the installer can decide if they want to install a racking system accordingly. If it's a slightly sloped or more sloped roof, it lets us know how much energy or solar or sunlight you'll be receiving during those peak sun hours, the material on your roof. Typically installers are open to anything, but the only exception are slate roofs, which are a bit more fragile. So it's an extensive list of questions. Once you fill it out, you'll receive a tentative proposal, and you can decide if you want to pay a deposit and get on with the process. You will also be asked to provide contact information. This is not for us. Sorry about that. I guess my Siri got activated, but yeah, with the registration, we do not need this contact info. It's more for the installer because once you pay that deposit, they will reach out to you on the provided contact info and physical address to do a site visit and also do a consultation. This is an example of what the personal offer page looks like. That's solar panel. Those are the inverters or microinverters, and it lets you know the total system size and some of the other details. Again, these are just examples. It varies from one person to the other. And this is the last part, which is the decision or deposit process. If you accept it, great. It's 100% refundable. If not, that's also okay. We will remove you from the program. No questions asked. And before I get into solar tech, I'm going to pause for questions because I see quite a few um, notifications in the chat. So Naomi, go for it.
Yes, Alan has a question. One
Mhm,
second here. He says that while he plans to live in the house forever, who knows what might happen, can we make a
mhm.
case for why he should invest in this? Basically, general question about how long should one plan on being in a house in order for solar to be helpful?
Yeah, that's a fair question. So I was going to go into this in the second part, but the biggest asset for a solar system is once the permitting is done and once the installation takes place or is completed, a solar system and those panels have a lifespan of anywhere from 25 to 30 years, sometimes even more than that. What that basically means is once you install the system, it just sits there on the roof and it's doing the work for you, which is providing clean, free electricity. And it requires minimal maintenance. You also have warranties on those panels that cover it for 25 years. So once you install it in Maryland, it's we usually see a payback period of anywhere from 8 to 9 years. After that, you're actually making money out of that system. And I will explain more on that later on in the financing segment. But that's one of the big selling assets for solar. There's minimal maintenance required once it's installed. If you know you're going to be on that property for the next 20 or 25 years, even more, it's a good investment. On a related note, we understand, life happens. If you think you're going to move after a decade or 15 years or even earlier, there are green realtors out there where when you sell the home, that solar pan system and those panels have a value attached to them. It's actually an asset on your roof, and that can be included in your home value when you're selling it to another person. So that's one of the big selling points. And what else can I say here? I mean, yeah, I mean, if you're concerned about the environment and clean energy and all that good stuff, you're adding to the solar portfolio for Howard County and for the next generation. You're offsetting a lot of those greenhouse gas emissions. But the biggest point is the financial payback and the financial savings over time. And if you go solar in this program, you save more than going solar on your own, anywhere between 15 to 20% more. So yeah, hopefully that answers the question. But if you want more details, you're welcome to reach out to our help desk and you know um, ask for more specifics. And Naomi, any other questions?
Yes, there's a couple more.
Mhm.
Chris asks, does our mission include assisting HOCO 55 plus communities acquire solar for their homes in a WW treatment plan? That's one of the questions. And I do have another one as well.
Gotcha. So can you just elaborate more again on the treatment plant? Is it just like a group of homes looking to go solar, or is this like a business, or what are we looking at here? I could
I'm
also try. Let me just see if I can open the chat here. Um, Good to see you here, Brian. Thank you for that. So Brian's actually one of our partners and reps from Solar Energy World, SEW, who are one of the participating installers. Um, does your mission include assisting Hogo? Huh. This is a first for me. Assisting. So I'm not sure about the wastewater treatment plant because I'm not sure how big that solar array will be. But in terms of communities acquiring solar, I mean, as long as the HOA or local group which manages their homes is receptive or open to installing solar on the rooftops, yeah, we are open to it. I will go into the details of that later, but when it comes to HOAs, they cannot outright or explicitly stop you from going solar as long as the housing contract states that solar is prohibited. So they cannot stop you. And even in those cases, it cannot adversely affect your costs or productions by a select percentage. I don't recall the number though, but it's yeah, I mean, I wish I had a better answer there, but yeah, we could assist depending on the local HOAs and what have you. So yeah, let's see. I see another one from Alan. No, they should not be voiding your shingle or roof warranty. That, you know, with the panels, they usually have a warranty anywhere from 25 to 30 years, and anything around roof penetrations and related stuff is included in the warranty, and that should not void that. Now, unless it explicitly states on a roofer's contract, those are exceptions, but they should not conflict with one another. So that should not be a problem here. And Naomi, any other questions, or do we have everything covered?
Yep, I think we're good to go.
Perfect. And if you have anything more specific, you can reach out to the help desk, and I can check in with the team and have more detailed answers for you. All right, moving on. Let's see. Sorry about that. My Siri got activated again. But in a nutshell, how do solar PV, panels work? They're converting solar into a usable form of electricity for your household. And this is an example you see of a ground-mounted system. These are some of our former members, and yeah, when you have more than one panel, it's typically called a solar array. You'll hear more about this from your sales reps from the installer. And we won't go in too much into the details because we want to keep this as simple as possible. And in terms of the components or individual components of these panels, again, these are state of the art. They're made up of various subunits. What you need to know is, in terms of durability and all that other good stuff, they're very durable, very strong and sturdy. They can withstand a very large wind factor. This is especially relevant in hurricane-prone regions. And yeah, this is an example of another ground-mounted system. And the way the racking system and all that is installed is it's angled to optimize maximum solar production. So this is just another example. In terms of racking systems, what you need to know is panels don't go directly on a roof. They're embedded on top of a racking system. It's basically a medium that is installed on the roof on which the panels go. This is an example of an asphalt shingle roof. And again, depending on your roof size, type, amount of shading, age of the roof, the installer will work on you with this and decide what the best option for you is. Sometimes you require penetration, sometimes you don't. It just depends on each roof. And this is an example of a home in DC and from one of our previous co-ops. But what you need to know over here is most roofs are a good fit for solar. The only exception would be slate roofs, which are a bit more fragile. Some installers are very or averse to working on them. If they do, there is an added cost per watt, but it's a case by case basis. And if you're still not sure, what I would recommend is they will ask you this on the questionnaire, the kind of material that your roof has, and you can still be added to the program and you can run it by the installer. If they can make it work, great. If they can't, that's fine too. We will issue you a full refund on your deposit. In terms of what makes a good roof for solar, we get this question all the time. There are usually four factors. The first one is because we live in the Northern Hemisphere, installers typically prefer south-facing roofs. They're the most optimal. East and west are also good fits. The only exception would be north-facing roofs. They're usually not recommended. Not to get too much into the astronomy, but because we live in the Northern Hemisphere, we're kind of tilting into the sun. South-facing roofs are the best. However, if you're still uncertain, if you don't know if you're a good fit for solar, you can still sign up and the installer will do their own review of your roof and let you know if it's a good fit. The second factor is, shading. Um, installers, there's no magic number, but typically they look for at least or around 200 square feet of open roof space with minimal to no shading. And that also gives them enough space to mount the panels. And the last part is they prefer newer and undamaged roofs, or even roofs that have minimal disturbances or any mini structures. The more smooth the roof and the fewer the disruptions or any structures on it, like dormers and what have you, the better it is for solar. However, having lived in the DMV, we get it. Sometimes you have sh tree shades that's partially shading your roof. Sometimes your roofs might be on the older side. If you're not sure, apply nonetheless. We'll let you know if it's a good fit or not. The alternative to this is ground-mounted solar systems. These are more rare and more of an exception in the region. Um, on the bright side, or in terms of the benefits, ground-mounted systems can be installed or adjusted or oriented in a way where they're facing the sun during the optimal sun hours, which optimizes your production compared to rooftop systems. However, they are pricier, and because of the additional work and trenching involved, there is an added cost per watt. So if budget's not an issue for you, or if your roof's not a good fit, you could explore this. But usually installers go with rooftop systems in these programs. But again, it's not a one size fits all. This is also an option. In terms of important terminologies and words, two words you should know. The first one is kilowatts. They're abbreviated as kW. That's basically a fixed measurement of your system size. Just using this as an example, what you see here is a solar array of 12 panels. Each of them have a fixed system size of 300 watts. If you multiply 300 by 12, that's 3,600 watts or 3.6 kilowatts. That's basically the size of your system. That stays fixed. It's a fixed number. Kilowatt hours, or kWh, is this varies from month to month, and this is what you're consuming, or this is what your system is producing every month. And this is what you typically see on your utility bills from the local utility provider. And the average size we have seen in the capital region, that includes Maryland, it's anywhere from 6 to 7 kilowatts. However, having said that, your system size will depend on a variety of factors. They include, your roof size, the amount of shading you have, your budget, what your goals are, and what your average utility bills are. Some folks, they don't have an issue with their budget, but they're limited by the size of the roof and some other factors. Other folks, they like to start a bit more conservative, a smaller system. They want to see how it goes. And then based on the production or the performance, if they're happy, they expand it in the future. So again, this is something you can work on with the installer. They will configure that system for you. They'll give you a few options. You can decide whatever works best for you depending on your budget and any other factors. And this is what it looks like if you look at it in a whole diagram. The first part is what you see here, the panels on top of the rooftop, and they're receiving sunlight during those peak sun hours. And they receive it in a form of DC or direct current. That electricity then goes through your inverters. That's where it's converted from DC to AC, or alternating current. It's converted because your household appliances use electricity in the form of AC, or alternating current, and then goes to your electric panel, and then it's distributed across your household. Again, you do not have to be an engineer or understand all the specifics of this. This is just a high level breakdown of how solar energy is converted from the moment it hits your panels to when it goes to your household appliances. Now, one of the big benefits for folks in Maryland is, this is where net metering comes in. And what that basically means is, there will be times during the day where you're not consuming as much electricity as your system is producing. So any of that surplus energy or electricity, it does not go to waste. It goes back to the grid, and you're credited for this in the form of surplus credits that are applied to your utility bills, depending on whatever plan you pick, and that's net metering. It basically means any additional production is accounted for after sunset or in the winter months. And that's what you see over here in step 5. That's energy being exported to the grid when you're producing a surplus. After sunset, when you're consuming it from the grid, you're not being charged for that because you had surplus. And in terms of an example, before I go into the example, this is what it is. In Maryland, it's on a 1-to-1 credit. So whatever you're producing in terms of that extra electricity, you're compensated from the utility on a 1-to-1 credit. This could be done on a daily or seasonal surplus, depending on the plan you're on. And it's a percentage of your annual offset. This is what it looks like over here, but to make it less complicated, this is just a high level example. Let's say you're consuming electricity from the local utility when the sun is down or during the winter months where your panels might not be as productive. Let's say you're consuming 250 kilowatt hours. You're not going to be charged for this 300 kilowatt hours because you're also supplying or exporting a surplus of 250 units or kilowatt hours. So instead of paying for this, you're paying the difference, which is 50 units or 50 kilowatt hours. That's one of the big benefits of net metering. It's a big deal because it's not available in every state. And we are pushing back or fighting back against local utilities on preserving these benefits. And again, different utilities have different interconnection charges. So it just depends on the utility you're working with. And I think I'll pause over there before I hop onto economics. Naomi, any questions?
Yes, I have a couple questions
Sure.
I can hear. Alan asks, he was told that he needs to have at least 1 acre of ground for a ground-mounted array. He wants to know
Okay.
if that's correct with legal zoning requirements.
Huh. I'm not as well versed on the requirements for ground-mounted systems. I think that's going to depend on quite a few things, like depends on the scope of your project, how much you're looking to produce, what are you looking to fuel or power up. So what I would ask is, can you reach out to our help desk, provide more details on the project, and we can try and scope it out, or we can work with either of the installers and get more detailed input on this. But yeah, I wish I had a better answer. It just depends on the scope of your project and what your goals are.
Yeah.
Next question, Naomi.
As Chris is asking, what is the current state of solar shingles? Can we please share our views on using shingles versus panels?
Solar shingles are an option, and I'm gonna watch what I say here because they look great. They look gorgeous on the roof. They look like state of the art. What I would warn, though, however, is compared to like traditional panels, they might not be as energy efficient. It also depends on your roof because if you're receiving shade or if you have any tree shade on some parts of your roof during the peak sun hours, those solar shingles might not be as productive. Another thing we've heard anecdotally from installers is if you do have any maintenance issues, there is a tight supply chain right now, so you have to take that into consideration. So it looks great, looks sleek, state of the art. I'm sure the technology will evolve in the future. If your budget's not an issue, it's a decent investment. But if the amount of money you're looking to recoup on this investment, if your payback period and so on the other factors are more important, I would stick to the traditional solar panels. But again, it just depends on what your goals are.
Thank you. So great.
And
I have just one
yep,
last question from
sure.
Alan. Is the 1-to-1 credit based on what our electrical supplier charges or what BGE charges?
No, that's just the local mandate in the state. So the last time I checked, at least in DC and Maryland, it is on a 1-to-1 basis. So that would not depend on the utility. That's just mandated locally at the state level. Whatever you produce in surplus, you're getting that back on a 1-to-1 credit. I do not think that depends on the utility, but I know Brian, you're here. Feel free to correct me if I'm wrong over there, or if anything's going to change in the short term. But to my knowledge and what we have on our website, I think it just depends on the local renewable portfolios and mandates on a state to state level. There are some other states where you're not credited on a 1-to-1 level. It might be 1 to 0.5, which basically means for every 1 credit or 1 kilowatt hour you export, you get zero point 0.5 kilowatt hours in return, um, you know, after sunset or when your solar system is not as productive on the utility bill. So it just depends. But yeah, I, I think it depends on the state mandate. And is that it for now, Naomi, or
That's
we good
it.
to continue?
You can continue.
Perfect. I think this is the last section, and are we on time? Okay, we are okay on time, so I will get on with this. So the last part is, in terms of economics, we have come a long way in the last decade or 15 years. Solar is a great investment. Back in 2010, it was more like a boutique or niche product, and it was very pricey because it was just getting started, but we have made a lot of strides, and it's dropped by around 73% since 2010. And it's becoming increasingly affordable, um, partly thanks to the Inflation Reduction Act that was passed back in 2022. One of the big benefits of that was the ITCs, or federal tax credits, at 30%. I think that's on the next slide. No. What that basically means is if you have a large enough federal tax liability, you can claim up to 30% on those liabilities as a form of tax credits on your solar system. I'll just use some numbers as an example. Let's say your solar system cost you around, just hypothetically, this is a small system. Let's say it's $10,000. 30% of that is $3,000. If you had that as your federal tax liability, you can write that off or claim that. The best part is if you do not have a large enough federal tax liability in one fiscal year, you can continue to claim this or roll this over in future years until the year 2032. So you do not have to claim this in 1 year. It can be rolled over and on and on. So that's one of the big benefits since 2022. And that's what makes solar projects so feasible and reduces your payback period. In terms of breaking down the cost of solar, we want to share this diagram because this ties into the program we are running in the form of Solar Switch. As you can see, almost 50 to 60% of the costs of operating a business or for installers is around marketing and customer acquisition and some of those other soft costs. That's where we're looking to help them. By running these bulk campaigns, we're actually acquiring the leads or getting folks together in a program. Once we hit a critical mass or once we know we have a large enough program, we let installers know that we're running a program, or in this case, Solar Switch. We do a reverse auction where we pick installers based on a variety of factors, and that lets them, eliminate a lot of the soft costs. It lets us advertise our services and run those programs at a discounted rate per watt for each of the customers. So it works for the customer, it works for us, it works for the installer. And that's what makes Solar Switch so effective. And yes, this is what I was referring to, the federal tax credits or ITCs. They're capped at 30% until the year 2032. Again, you can roll it over to future fiscal years, assuming you don't have a large enough federal tax liability in 1 year. And then it's going to drop off to 26% in 2033 and then 22% in 2034. But that's well down the line. A lot can happen in between now and then. And this is the slide where we get the most interest. This is what your average system looks like in terms of pricing. Again, these are just market numbers based on the average trends we have seen. You're seeing an example of a very small system, 4 kilowatts, a mid-sized system in Maryland, 8 kilowatts, and a larger system of 12 kilowatts. Systems are charged by the watt or kilowatt, less so by the panel. And so what we have seen in Maryland, the average price in the open market has been around $2.75 a watt. In the Solar Switch campaign, it is lower than this. We just do not disclose it to the public until they join the program. The reason we do this is because installers can only offer those prices for a time-sensitive period. In this case, it's going to be till the end of November. And we try to keep that discreet or just exclusive to the members of Solar Switch. But this is the open market. So if you multiply this by the total system size, That gives you $11,000. Assuming you have a large enough federal tax liability, 30% of 11,000 is 3,300 bucks. That's deducted. Another incentive on the local level is a clean energy grant in Maryland. One thing you should know is this fund does get exhausted somewhere in the middle of the year. So I'm not sure if it's still available to Maryland residents or if they've exhausted those funds. But what we recommend is at the start of a new fiscal year, if you know you want to go solar, the sooner you go, the better, because you can then redeem this or claim this on your system. And the last thing I'll add over here is SRECs. I'll try to keep this as simple as possible, but SRECs are also known as solar renewable energy credits. It's a clean energy production incentive. What it basically means is every time your solar system produces 1,000 kilowatt hours of clean energy, you receive a virtual SREC or a credit. And this is basically a reward for producing clean energy. On average, for a 4 kilowatt system, a Maryland resident can produce or claim around, I would say, 4 or 5 SRECs. In the open market, you can sell this to brokers. The two big brokers are Sol Systems and SREC Trade. There are also other vendors like Flat Exchange and some of the other ones. It's totally up to you who you want to go with. If you have questions about the SREC brokers, you can reach out to us. We'll walk you through that through that process. But the example I'm using here is one of the more conservative ones. This is being offered by Sol Systems, where they are buying SRECs, or they're going to lock in that price at $205 per kilowatt. Again, this is a very conservative one. So a Maryland resident can make around $800 by selling their SRECs to the broker. And so the net costs after all these deductions comes down to around $5,900. And then that's where the benefits come in. Once your system starts producing electricity over 1 year, instead of paying to the utility, this is what you offset, but this is how much you save. Over 10 years, as there's that escalator on your utility bills, those savings go up to $8,000. Over the system's lifetime, that's around $23,000. And so you're making money out of your system. In this case, it's a profit of around $17,000. But again, this is subject to your system size, the SREC market, and some of the other factors. And so the more you scale up the system, the greater your profit. Again, it depends on your budget. This is just a simple example. If you have more questions on this, we do have a financing guide. You're welcome to check that out on our website. And if you have questions about the SRECs or any of these other factors, you can reach out to us. All right, I think that wraps up everything. Before I take any more additional questions, the last thing I'll say is, here's a SolarSwitch sign up link. If you want to go solar with us, this is your chance. Like I said, SCW and Lumina are the vendors participating in this program. I'm sure Brian's answered some of your questions. If you have more, we can send it over their way as well if you want to consult with them. And yeah, I think I'm going to wrap it up over there, and let's see if I have anything else. Oh yes, the last thing I had over here was the milestones. So we launched SolarSwitch back in September. We did a reverse auction before that where we picked our vendors or the installers, and we are accepting applications until November 22nd. That is the sign up deadline. And for folks who sign up by then, their deadline to accept the offer from the installer, their personal offer, is November 29th. However, if you need an extension, just let us know. I can run it by the sales rep, and I'm sure we can make something work. And the installations will run between January and July next year. And they're on course, or our target is to complete all the installations in the program by July the 23rd. It's a first come, first serve basis. So the sooner you join, the sooner you go solar. And with that, yeah, that's it from me. And happy to take any other questions and then wrap it up after this.
There's one more question for Alan. Lumina said that the MD 1000 credit isn't applicable for new installations anymore. He wants to know if that's correct.
So is he referring to I think it's a clean energy grant or that $1,000 provision for each resident?
Yes, he mentioned.
Huh, that's news to me because the last time I checked with one of our partners at the local happy hours, I believe that was still a thing. So, um, I can check in with our contacts at the MEA, the Energy Administration at Maryland, and get back to him. But the last time I checked, it was there on the website. So that is news to me. But yeah, Alan, why don't you just reach out to our help desk and we can answer these questions tomorrow? That is news to me. I'll just write it down. What's the next question, Naomi?
So far, we don't have any more. Just Alan also mentioned that they said that the installation had to be done by November 30th in order to get the credit.
Hmm. Okay, let me check in with Lumina about this, but yeah, again, this is news to me. I'll have to check in with the our contacts over there and get back to him because I was not aware that was true. So yeah, I wish I had a better answer, but the way we were advertising this is November 30th. Okay. I do not have a good answer right now, but I'll get back to him.
Thank you. We don't have any more.
Cool. Okay, that puts us at the hour, and thank you for to everyone that joined the presentation today. We will be sending out a recording tomorrow, and if you have any follow-up questions, this is our help desk. We'll do our best to answer your questions or defer or refer you to the right partners or folks who may know the answers to these questions. And yeah, I'll give you your 2 minutes back, and thanks again for joining us. And have a good night. Thank you.